You know, I don't think that fail sound has ever been more appropriate than it has this year. Well, that year was fun, wasn't it? And by fun I mean shit. But, thanks to our sponsor Corona, my job is a lot easier this year. Since barely anything major of note came out at the cinema, so instead we have to grasp at the B-list tier movies and lower. And you all know how I love garbage films. And once again, I have failed to make any fucking videos this year. But in my defence, the world kind of did implode due to a flu pandemic. And also I still have my job, which I actually have to physically go to, which, unlike most people, I didn't have much time off from this year. And I used the few weeks I did have off to do more important things, like redecorating this ugly-ass room so it looks better, and asking the woman I love to marry me. She said yes, by the way. But anyway, as I always say, if I only ever do one video a year, let it be this one. I'll go by the now established method of, you know, going month to month and talking about releases that came out that month, and, you know, obviously the ones I've seen, and maybe a comment or two about some of the films that I haven't seen, but I still think that they deserve some sort of mention. Let's do it. Off we go. In January, there was The Grudge. I mean, if you've never seen a Grudge movie before, then I suppose this would be cool. But there have been so many at this point. I will say that it looks good, and the effects are cool, and it's always nice to see our boy John Cho. But if you're already a fan of these films, then you've seen it all before and there won't be any surprises for you. 5 out of 10. Bad Boys for Life also came out this month, but I have never seen any of the Bad Boys movies, so feel free to yell at me for that. And also there was a remake of Dr. Dolittle, which I couldn't care less about. Gretal and Hansel. Bruh, the mother is savage. It's not scary, it's just kind of spooky and foreboding. And does Alice Krige play anything other than baddies? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, because, you know, Alice Krige is fucking awesome. But there wasn't any part of it that really stuck out. It's just undistinguished in the nicest possible way. It's okay, but you'll have forgotten about it in a few years. 5.5 out of 10. In February, there was Birds of Prey. Well, that was 1 hour and 40 minutes wasted. 3 out of 10. Mostly funny because it's rubbish. It's best for background noise or to switch off your brain while you watch it. Like, it's not even badly made production-wise. There's just nothing to it. I would say just don't think about it while you watch it. It's just brainless moving images on a screen. Watch once and don't think about it again. The action scenes are fine though. And yeah, I could point out how literally every single male character is written to be an arsehole, but there is really no point I could make that a million other people haven't already said. I love Margot Robbie, I do. Hell, I even remember watching her when she was in Neighbours. But what are you doing? Like, over the last few years, why do you keep appearing in these films that are so badly written? Fire your agent, woman, seriously. Sonic the Hedgehog. I got several laughs out of this. I had fun. Especially the Quicksilver-esque moments running around while time is stopped. It's not designed as award-winning material, and I respect it for that. It's just there to keep your attention for 90 minutes and make you smile. 7 out of 10. The Invisible Man. I really liked the opening 10 minutes of her escaping the house. That was good. I love the random camera shots of empty space that unnerves you. So you and the main character are thinking, is he there, or am I just making it up in my head? Then of course he is, because otherwise there wouldn't be a movie, you dumbass. Elizabeth Moss is phenomenal in this. Dude, that moment in the restaurant came out of nowhere. I was between shocked and laughing. I genuinely enjoyed the film. And by the end, even though she's free, she still ends up looking like a psycho too. 8 out of 10. Give it a watch when it's cheaper to rent or buy. In March, there was Bloodshot. I mean, I've not seen Vin Diesel in something for like 5 years. And no, Groot does not fucking count. I mean like actually him on the screen. I love Vin Diesel's face. It's like his expression is always set in stone. Like, don't bother if you're here for a deep story. I mean, it held my attention for 90 minutes, unlike Birds of Prey, where I was getting bored after an hour. The concept is cool and the technology is awesome. The action is kind of okay, but I just wish they'd chosen a lead actor with more emotional range than a giant floating stone head.
Stardust speaks to you.
5 out of 10. Then April happened. Well, this month pretty much dried up at the cinema, and everything either was delayed or straight up pulled from 2020. So the spring and summer season is pretty much a lost cause. I mean, there was Corona Zombies, and I know that it's 95% dubbed over old films taking the piss out of current events, but you gotta give it to them for being cheeky and doing this in the first place, spending zero money whatsoever. I mean, that being said, it's still a flaming pile of arse, but I guess the joke is on me for watching it, so bravo guys, you got me. In May, there was Scoob. I didn't mind this, and I confess a few of the jokes got me good and I laughed out loud. It's just that for a show or franchise that's based on a group of people solving mysteries, there wasn't any mystery at all. Once the antagonist is revealed near the start, well, there weren't any other players in the game, so the whole taking off the mask scene at the end feels redundant. We already know who the bad guy in the story was, so what was the point of that? It just falls flat. And it feels like they just added it in for the sake of it, because that's what Scooby-Doo is known for. The voice acting is decent enough, and it's a family-friendly film with an easy-to-follow plot. The film just kind of felt like the film studio was going, hey, look, we've got the copyrights to all the Hanna-Barbera productions and, like, cartoons in this. Though I wasn't a fan of it being CGI. But that's just how it is nowadays. It's probably cheaper and a lot faster for studios to make something with CGI rather than hand-drawn cartoons. 6 out of 10. Inheritance. An interesting moral dilemma. Let an imprisoned man go free for the right reasons, or keep him locked up so your life isn't ruined because of all of the secrets he knows. Again, this is one of those films where I can't really say much about it without spoiling it. Some reviews say that this sucked, but I thought it was alright, mainly because Simon Pegg is the best actor in it, and his lunacy is a joy to watch. However, his name in the film is Morgan, and I find that name impossible to take seriously for the last decade, because every time I hear that name, I think of this.
Morgan, we're going to kill you, Morgan. Morgan, you hear? Morgan.
Although I do agree it takes way too long to get to certain revelations, and other than Simon Pegg and Lily Collins, no one gets any characterization or development, and the rest of the film outside of the Simon Pegg scenes just feels empty and boring. 6 out of 10. Corona pretty much killed the early summer releases, so I'm skipping over June and July and going straight to August. In August, there was The New Mutants. God damn it, Maisie, that's a shite accent. I'm not even Scottish and I'm offended by it. And despite that, she is still the best actor in this. I appreciate that they tried something new, a slower pace, a darker atmosphere to it, Considering that X-Men movies tend to be action-packed and colourful somewhat, their fears physically manifesting and attacking them was definitely the best part. I get that some people may not like it based on it being X-Men related, but I try to take films as they are from a layman's perspective, and honestly I wasn't wowed or excited by it. It was almost dull, and apparently this was filmed 3 years ago. 3 years. I feel bad for the people who got hyped for it and waited this long for something so mediocre. In fact, you know what pisses me off? The fact that you didn't use the mutant with the best power ever.
You, Tacky, will use your wheelchair transformation power to gain access.
I have waited so long to use that clip. Just almost as long as like the Last of the Living clip from last year's video, like several years at least. But anyway, back to this film. It's yet another film where people will forget about it in a couple of years. It's got no real soul and nothing to make it stand out. 4 out of 10. Then there was Centigrade. Well, fuck, inspired by real events that happened in 2002. This was claustrophobic and tense from start to end. I mean, there isn't really much you can say about it. It's just 2 people trapped under snow and losing their minds, and filmed almost entirely in a car. It's alright. 6 out of 10. September came along, Mulan came out, or rather it didn't, and then they only showed it on Disney Plus for like $30. Like, really, Disney? Like, no one in their right mind would pay for that, especially when we have a better version. I mean, they made it to pander to China, and then, like, the Chinese movie-going public didn't even like it, so what was the point of that? Also in September was The Owners. Why did nobody tell me that the Car Farak Gatri was in a movie this year? Like, I genuinely thought this was funny. I mean, I've seen a few comments that saying that Sylvester was creepy in this role, but to me, the man himself in real life is just so random most of the time that it's just Sylvester being Sylvester. Maisie Williams is in this as well, but having not seen Game of Thrones, I really don't get the hype about her, especially since the things I have seen her in haven't always been that great. But everyone puts on a good show, and I got some unintentional laughs, so I can't really complain. 7 out of 10. Then in October, there was Borat 2. I really don't see the point in Borat 2. I think the time for it has passed. You know, the original Borat was like, what, 2006? And if the sequel was like 10 years ago, hell, even if it was like 6 or 7 years ago, it might still have some buzz. But I bet if you asked most people, they probably don't even know there was a second one that came out this year. Also in October, there was The Craft, Legacy. The best line in the film is, what, can't you guys just make us fly or something? Bitch, no! You know, woke Timmy was cringe. Like, it is possible to write a sensitive character without going into the realms of embarrassing. The overuse of social justice buzzwords is cringe. The finger clicking in the self-help circle is cringe. And most annoyingly, we know almost nothing about the other 3 girls in the coven. This film is so whack compared to the original. The original film is like a solid 8 out of 10 for me. The ending to this one, though, just felt so rushed and lazy. I didn't feel like there was any threat in the film. And then Agent Mulder shows up at the end and is like, yo, I'm evil. And I'm like, I don't care, dude. There's been zero build-up to this confrontation. No, seriously, what is this ending? Like, when your final battle is shitter than Gorwyn versus Charn, you know you fucked it up somewhere. Like, that is the minimum bar you have to reach, and you didn't. Like, I wasn't even angry or anything when I watched it. It just sucks. Like, what a fucking pointless endeavour this film was. 3 out of 10. In November, there was Bugger All. So we'll move on to December and Wonder Woman 1984. And it comes out at the end of December, and I'm not going to be able to watch it in time for the video. Also, I've heard that it's very heavily Orange Man bad, and I'm like, ugh, it just made me roll my eyes. You know, it's such a low-hanging fruit at this point. Stop being lazy writers. But until I see it, I'm open to being wrong. And so we move on to the conclusion section of the video faster than usual. Film of the year goes to The Invisible Man, simply because it's the most competent film that I saw this year. It does what it set out to do. There's no dead weight or flabby scenes that should be cut. Everyone puts in a realistic performance. There's no overuse of CGI, maybe a tiny bit towards the end, but it's just like one guy in a suit. It's all about how you use your villains in a story, and they use this guy very well. Remember, one baddie is a threat. Multiple baddies, or an army of baddies, is a plot device. Sometimes it's just better to stick with one. And worst film of the year goes to Craft Legacy. I mean, I've more or less said about all I can say about the film. I know that woke Timmy is cringe, but on the other hand, as a side character, he got more character development than all of the main characters combined. Like, how did you even manage that? It's just funny. I'm struggling to work out who this film is for, and I have no answer. I refer you back to my previous comment. Like, what a pointless endeavour this film was. It wasn't necessary, and it didn't need to be made. Like, at least Birds of Prey is visually interesting to watch, even if it is rubbish. But this just should be shot into space and forgotten about. And the Attention Deficit Award this year goes to basically anything that premiered on Netflix and or anything that I've not got around to yet, like Extraction and Last Days of American Crime. Oh yeah, and Deep Blue Sea, because I've not even seen the second one, I don't think. And Borat 2, because I have zero interest in ever watching it. But, other than that, 2020 was the first year in a very long time where there were A, no Star Wars movies, and B, no Marvel movies released. So I think a collective woohoo is in order. So, you know, other films can get some spotlight. Except for the fact that this year happened and the film industry has pretty much died on its arse. You know, for the time being anyway. Well, that was a shitty year. And for the love of God, 2021, don't be worse, please. Like, you can't get perceivably worse than this. So, good luck out there, everyone. You know, see you next year, I hope. And hopefully there won't be an apocalypse next year, because 2021 doesn't want to feel like it's been shown up by 2020. Who knows? Stay safe and, I don't know, get drunk. Makes it easier.